Hello everyone and welcome back to this Football Manager 2017 experiment where we take a look at what would happen if you tried to destroy a Premier League club. Now, in the previous two parts to this experiment, we did do a pretty good job. I completely dismantled everything that Arsenal had, down to the point that they're playing on a sand pitch at the Emirates. But they've also suffered relegation from the Premier League, the Championship, League One, and then at the very end of last episode, they managed to finish 22nd in League 2 to stay up. And we believe this might be the beginning of a fight back from the club. If we have a look at their club details, you'll see there's quite a bit of money back in the team, and that is a springboard for them to be able to rebuild after finally putting some capacity back into the Emirates Stadium. They should be able to move on from here, spend a bit of cash, and hopefully climb back up the Football League pyramid. Now, I think there are a couple of comments yesterday about the Sky Bet League 2 thing at the top here. People thinking they'd already been promoted. They're only placed third because of the alphabet. This season has not been conducted yet, so don't read anything into that. But we are today going to go forward, I think, 3 years, one at a time. And from that point on, we will jump forward 5 years. So if we do another part to this experiment, we will jump forward 5 years. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested to keep the experiment going in the future, and obviously do subscribe if you want to see more experiments like this. But let's go forward 1 year now and see where Arsenal are in League 2. Well, here we are then, one more year in the future, and if we have a look at the Sky Bet League 2 table, we will see eventually that Arsenal, if we get to the right screen here, actually finished in 16th place, so the comeback is definitely on after finishing in 22nd last season to climb up the table to 16th place and have a neutral goal difference as well. 14 wins, 16 draws, 16 defeats, and they got one more win. That would have been a nice sort of sweep across the middle there. But as it is, 16th place, not the end of the world, well clear of the relegation zone, but some way off the promotion places, the top 7 that they need to be in. But with 3 teams automatically getting promoted and one going up through the playoffs, it shouldn't be that difficult for them to climb out of League 2 and up into League 1. Now, if we have a look at their schedule for this season, which we have been taking a look at, we can see they were beaten by Plymouth in the opening day and also taken out of the EFL Cup, so not the best start to the season, but they did then have a nice unbeaten run across 8 matches with 4 victories in there as well. That is a great way to get kicked off. The Checkatrade Trophy got off to a good start with a win over Peterborough as well, but then they lost to Leyton Orient before getting a string of draws, couple of wins and a couple of defeats as well. League form getting a bit patchy around this point, but they did go through in the FA Cup first round and the FA Cup second round, beating Salford to make the third round for the second consecutive year, I think. But that was a poor run of form before this nice winning streak, where they also went through against Coventry in the Checkatrade Trophy second round. A little bit of inconsistency here, followed up by a poor defeat streak that started with a game against Blackburn in the FA Cup third round, going out 1-0, a disappointing performance there, and also losing in the third round of the Checkatrade Trophy to Gillingham. And then their form really dipping. This is terrible. They seem to end all of their seasons in the worst possible way. These big runs of draws and defeats severely hurting their chances. They did win the last 3 games, which will give them confidence at the start of next season, I'd imagine. But that is not good enough. This big gap here really doing the damage for them in their league season. And if we have a look at the competition screen overall, you can see that they are progressing from where they've been recently. Going out of the EFL Cup was disappointing, but overall not doing too badly. Had they not had that horrendous run at the end of the season, they could have been up in the playoff positions, I think, because you can see here that they were rising up the table a bit, got as high as 10th, and then they absolutely fell off a cliff, falling right down the table. But otherwise, they weren't doing too badly. And if we have a look at their transfers, we might get a clue as to why they've been doing all right. And we can see they spent 85 grand. That's not a lot of money. Jack Lee, the main player that they've brought in as a centre-back, 22 years old, played 35 games for them in the league this season. And no money being raised from selling players either, which is a sign of their financial strength as they look to bring more people in. If we have a look at their general information, though, you'll see they've still got this loan debt of £100 million and an estimated value of 31. For some reason, I thought the average ticket price said £1 billion then, and I was very confused. But the average season ticket price, £628. Not that many season ticket holders at this point. They were predicted to finish 18th, so they beat the critics in their expectation. Their facilities still not great. 4,000 capacity stadium that they rebuilt up from the 750 that I think it was at before. And they installed under soil heating on their sand pitch as well. But if we have a look at the club details, we can see that they've got a reputation of around 3,139. That is slowly creeping up. It was at about 2,500 not too long ago, so it is very slowly increasing. Their club attendance is still very good for a team struggling down in League 2. Still got professional status, still got a decent amount of cash in the bank as well. Their facilities around 3s and 4s, which is not brilliant, but they do at least have their 4,000-seater stadium. If we have a quick look at the landmarks of the club and see if anything has gone on in the last year, just the switch around of the captains. Otherwise, nothing has changed since the increase to the stadium capacity and the relegation from League 1. So let's go forward one more year and see if they can continue to climb up this League 2 table. Well, we are now 6 years into the future. You can see they've changed their manager. The captain still the same, I believe. Still playing on a sand pitch as well. If we have a look at the League 2 table, or rather the competition screen for Arsenal, we can see that they didn't manage to get promoted. They are down in 15th, which is an improvement on last season. But when you're trying to return to your former glories at the top of the league, improving by one position every season is not going to get you back there very quickly. If we have a look at their senior squad schedule for this season, you can see they actually had a really terrible start to the season this time out. Lots of defeats on the bounce, 2 in a row here, 2 in a row there, 2 in a row, 3 in a row. But it was at least saved a bit by a couple of winning streaks in there, 2 2s and a 3. So this is an awful lot of defeats which really will have hurt them. It looks like they got out of their Checkatrade Trophy group, but were then knocked out 2-0 by the Tottenham under-23s. How much of a hammer blow is that for the Arsenal fans out there? The Spurs under-23s beating you 2-0 in a competition of senior team. That is not the result they will want to see. Adding insult to injury right here. Doncaster holding them to a 1-1 draw, but then in the replay going through on penalties. Their league form did improve a little bit, but then there was a string of defeats again. But for once, they finished the season reasonably well. Just a 1 defeat across their last 10 or so matches, which will definitely improve confidence ahead of next season as well. Just that 1 defeat is quite impressive, although this is a Manchester United level of draws right here, which they will want to be improving on. But if they can get that extra goal or 2 from a new striker, maybe they could seriously be pushing for promotion back to League 1. If we have a look at the transfer history to see if they're spending money, they're spending 175 grand this season. 72 grand on Ian Carlo Poveda from Leeds. He looks like a decent player. I've got their massed attributes on rather annoyingly. But still, if we have a look at the start editing screen, you can see the stats in their pure numbers. So not a bad player, to be honest. That finishing is not ideal, but he's an AMC, so it doesn't matter too much. He did get a rating of just 6.79 though this season, which isn't ideal. And interestingly, Leeds signed him for £500,000, so they took a huge loss selling him to Arsenal. They also brought in Will de Havilland from Aldershot. He looks like an okay player, nothing too special there as a centre-back. Joseph Mills from Gillingham for 40 grand at left-back, so they're starting to rebuild their team piece by piece. Still quite a lot of free transfers though, both in and out. They did for once manage to raise just 10 grand by selling players though. So they are starting to get back to normal. If we have a look at their general information, the loan debt now down to £86 million. That has gone down by about 14 million, which is quite good for the club. Facilities looking about where they were before. If we look at the landmarks as well, no changes really. They put in a new vice captain, but otherwise everything else the same. No major news to look at. And in the general in the editor information screen, you can see that reputation going up by about 100 points. Attendance still around the same place, and the finances probably down about £10 million from where we started this episode. So a little bit rocky really, but let's go forward one more year, and if they still haven't gone up, we'll start jumping forward 5 years at a time. I think even if they do go up, I'll jump forward 5 years to see how they get on in the next part. So let's go forward right now. Well, here it is, guys. We are one more year in the future, and you can see that in the Sky Bet League 2, Arsenal have managed to finish third. It's not going to show you it straight away, but if we go to the stages screen and then look at the league table, you'll see they managed to do it by just 1 point over Aldershot. So close, but only 2 points off the title. Look at that. 76, 75, 74, 73, 72, 71, 71 and 69. Going right the way down to 68 as well. I mean, even the 66, 64, 62. You're only about... So the 66, 10 points separate first and Yeovil in 10th. That is the tightest league table I think I've ever seen. That's incredible. But Arsenal were the lucky recipients of that 1 point extra, which managed to carry them over the line and back into League One, their first promotion possibly ever. I don't know if Arsenal ever were needing to get promotion before this experiment, but they have managed to get there. If we take a look at the club's fixtures, it will be very interesting to see how they did at the end of the season, but they started off poorly with a 2-0 loss, but did get through against Brighton, of all clubs, in the EFL Cup, before getting knocked out by Millwall. A little poor run there, but then they managed to get 7 wins, or 6 wins across 7 games, just losing to Chesterfield in the middle, but winning in the Checkatrade Trophy, drawing with Dagenham and Redbridge, and then winning the penalty shootout against Spurs. But overall, a reasonable run of games. And that sort of inconsistent form did continue through the season. They're a very patchy team at the moment, but they did win that penalty shootout. And then in the Checkatrade Trophy South second round, they did beat the West Brom under-23 3-0 to put themselves in the next round, where they were beaten by Luton on penalties. But they're definitely improving as a side, and towards the end of the season, 2 wins here against Blackpool and Southend were the reason they got promoted. Without those wins, they would not have gone up. They've got another new manager as well, but if we have a look at the transfer history first for this season, again they spent 175 grand. I think that is the second season in a row that they spent that much money. James Murphy, the big signing coming in. If we just edit his data, we can see his stats here, that 15 first touch, 13 passing, 13 technique, are very good stats for down in League 2. He's actually American as well, so he's looking like a decent player. In this season, he only got 6.57 though, which is very, very poor. Signing him from FC United of Manchester, one of their League 2 rivals. Also paying money for Matt Smith and Luke Taylor, but quite a bit of money going out, including Wilder Haviland, who they signed not too long ago. He went to Chesterfield. But at least they are active in the transfer market once again, and going up will do wonders for their reputation. If we just have a quick look at the club details, you'll see that reputation gone up by about 400 this season as a result of getting promoted. Club attendance still around the same position, but they've got a bit of money in the bank now, which will help. Their finances now in an okay state, but they're still playing on a sand pitch, which is quite funny. There must be league rules around this. Somebody let me know in the comments. There's got to be some kind of league rules around playing on a sand pitch. It's got to be impossible. But I think that's going to be it for this part of this experiment. I am given the promotion and the fact they've expanded their stadium by 500 seats as well, which nearly sneaked by me. I am interested in going 5 years forward in the future. I think I'll just do it in one big lump sum rather than going a season at a time. But let me know what you think about that down in the comments if you're still interested in seeing if they can rebuild. I'm not going to artificially alter the club now they've got promoted, because hopefully that will be the trigger they need to really pick up through the leagues. But drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed the experiment as well and do want to see more. And make sure to subscribe for regular Football Manager experiments. But until next time, see ya.